Good morning. Good morning, sunshines. This is Autumn Miles. I keep forgetting to say my name. But most of you guys have been around a while, so that's good. Oh, while you're logging on, I'm gonna drink my coffee from my big cup. Slurp, slurp. I don't think there's anything more gross than someone slurping coffee. So let me slurp it for you. How are we doing, Cassandra? For those of you that don't know, Cassie, who works closely with me, is standing right behind the camera to make sure I get comments today because it's stressing me out. Are they coming through? Okay, so she says they're coming through. So good morning to all of you guys who are saying stuff. You know what helped? What helped was that when I did it myself, like commented on my own thing. I'm going to try that, guys. I'm going to try that. But I also know that they are delayed. So, Hi. Oh, okay. I see one. Oh, wait. Was that mine? Maybe that was mine. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Not quite yet. I'm sure they're coming through, right? Cass? There's another one. Yeah. Okay. So as the comments are coming in, I hope you guys are having a good day and a good morning. And I'm really excited about what I'm going to share with you guys today. I actually wanted to come on like 30 minutes ago, but couldn't do that. Let me try something a little different here. Let's see. Okay, that goes that way. Okay, we're gonna go that way. I'm gonna try again. There we go. Okay. Since I can't see, okay, I finally get one. So that is the delay. Cassie, that's the delay, whatever time that was. Okay, good morning, Christine. I see you. Praise the Lord. I see you. Good morning, Victoria. Oh, there's my comment. Even my own comment was delayed. Good morning, Ashley. Good morning, you guys. Okay. Absolutely perfect. We're getting them come in. Doreen says, I need this. Yes, you do, Doreen. We all do. Good morning, Rachel from Kansas City. I love you. Icon Molly. That's pretty amazing. LaRange, Ohio. Okay, so now they're coming in super fast for me. Who says good morning? Hadassah. Oh my gosh, I love that name. Tanya, good morning from Pensacola, Florida. Paula, good morning. Oh my goodness. Yay. Okay, I love this. Demita, hey girl. Demita, I know Demita. Tisha, good morning. Okay, this is awesome. New Jersey, it's sunny here. Hey from Orlando. Kimberly, you know that's my kid's favorite place in the universe is Orlando, Florida. Shannon, good morning. Love it. Nicole, good morning. Okay, so I actually have about 455 things that I could talk to you guys about, but I just want to tell you something. Can I just tell you something personal about my family? I have a praise report. Ooh, Heather, I was just in San Antonio for spring break. Hey, Texas in the house. Love it. Destin, Florida. Oh my gosh, you guys are from everywhere. I love it. So can I tell you just praise that happened in my house last night? You guys, a huge praise. A miracle. Some would say a miracle. I say a miracle. So I just want to tell you this because I just want you to know how God is still doing. He is still resurrecting today. He is still resurrecting our situations, our marriages. He is still resurrecting today. He is the resurrecting King. He is the one that does it. He is he still does it today. He still looks into our situations that look utterly and completely hopeless and pulls us out. He still does that today. Just on a personal note, and I don't think that she would mind me telling you this because, you know, she's like her mom. Like she's okay. My daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, has been having some problems for several years. Okay, so several years. This is my 15-year-old, not my baby. My 15-year-old. Being a mom, you guys, is like no joke. Keeping up with these kids' health situations and everything is just no joke. So she's been having some problems for several years. She's had lots of tests done. She's had like, you know, all the thing. Okay. So we finally went like hardcore because they could never find anything wrong with her. So we went hardcore. We were like, we are going to figure out exactly what this is. We need to know exactly what is going on with your body, okay? So we took her to the doctor, and she had, let's just say, several procedures done in order to just kind of figure out what was going on with her. And she was diagnosed, I won't tell you what she was diagnosed with, but she was diagnosed in January with a disease, okay? And Mama was devastated. Mama was devastated. It was very, very hard on me. You know, I knew that it could potentially be something. I knew it could potentially be in this arena, this nature. It is, you know, something that there's no cure for. There's medicine for, but there's no cure for. And so I took it hard. She took it hard. We all took it hard as a family. But we began praying for her. And, you know, sometimes, and this is, I'm going to talk about, look, I got my Bible ready. I'm going to talk about the resurrection in just a second. But this goes along with it. Jesus still resurrects things. He still resurrects situations. He still resurrects diagnoses. He still resurrects marriages. So we took her to a different specialist after she was diagnosed with a specific disease. And I had been praying. There was about a month lag in between the different appointments because, you know, specialists are hard to get into. And I went into the specialist, and she said, well, I'm going to test her for this myself. And I know she's been diagnosed with this, but I'm going to run my own panel of tests for it. And yesterday we found out that she does not have the disease that she was diagnosed with back in January. Her test came back 100% clear, 100% good. And I know that was a result of prayer. I know it. I know it was a result of prayer, you guys. I know it was because Mama, Dad, brother, sister, herself, Grandma, Grandpa, we all were praying. So I want you I was like crying. You know how you like wait for the doctor's notes? You like look, doctor's calls, you're like checking your phone every 2 seconds. Well, the doctor definitely called me, and she said she does not show signs of this disease. So you guys, God still resurrects. He resurrected that situation. He resurrected my daughter's health. I was praying. I didn't even know what to pray. What do you pray? Do you pray for complete healing? Well, of course you do. But, what if God says no to that? Okay, well, then what do you pray for? Peace of mind for her? What do you pray for? Her future? What do you pray for? So there were some times that I just would sit and not say anything and say, Holy Spirit, pray on my behalf. And God answered our prayers. She does not have the disease that they said she's going to do. So this is an incredible praise report to my 15-year-old daughter who just started off her life. She is not going to be slapped with this, the diagnosis of this disease. So praise. Can I get a praise hands in the comments for that? God is still resurrecting. He is still resurrecting. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that just because it went right in line with what I was going to talk about today. Of course, all 4 gospels, you guys, talk about the resurrection. Of course they do. Of course they do. But the beautiful thing about God's word is what I was telling you. It is a tapestry. All the gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, feed into one another. Okay, so there's like layers. So we learn more about the resurrection if we're reading Matthew, then we read Mark, then we read Luke, and then we read John. Okay, so it's like a tapestry. It all goes together. Today I want to talk to you about a couple of things that I think are just really interesting, that people, just different accounts of what happened. There is, mark my words, there is always, I've lived this, I say this with authority, always, a waiting period between when God gives you a promise to cling on to, a word, when God gives you something, that starts a waiting period until God fulfills the things that he said. There is always a waiting period. I do not know why we are shocked that there is a waiting period that we have to go through. And maybe it's not that we're shocked that there's a waiting period that we have to go to. Maybe we're shocked that there is the length of a waiting period, okay? We want to wait for 2 days. We want to wait for 2 hours. We want to wait for 2 minutes. And oftentimes that is not the case, okay? There is a waiting period between when God tells you he's going to do something and when he actually comes through. This is written. Listen when I say this. A waiting period is written into every single one of our lives and every single one of God's plans for our life, okay? There is a time between when he tells us he's going to do something and when it happens. Don't be shocked. Don't be like the Marys at the tomb. That's basically what I'm getting at. Don't be shocked when God does what he says he's going to do pre-waiting period, okay? It's unbelievable to me. First of all, people get mad at God for the waiting period. It's just crazy because I know it's hard. I've had to wait 10 years to start my ministry. 10 years to start my ministry. I had to wait 3 years to adopt my babies. 3. That is a long time to wait, okay? I've had to wait for all sorts of things in my lifetime. But you can't get mad at the waiting period because everyone did it. Listen to me. Jesus waited to be resurrected. Jesus waited to be resurrected. He stayed dead. He submitted to death via God the Father. And he stayed dead for 3 days. Don't you think he would have rather been resurrected instantly as soon as he died? I mean, I haven't asked him that question, but I'll ask him and let you know what he says. Even Jesus had a waiting period. He stayed dead for 3 days. What we need to grasp hold of is if you're in that waiting period and God has said, I'm going to give you a man. I'm going to give you a godly woman. I'm going to give you children. I'm going to give you this job. You're going to start this business. You're going to do whatever. If God has told you something, don't get mad at him for the waiting period because it is necessary. For whatever reason, it is necessary, okay? God will come through. Jesus had a waiting period. Everyone that crucified Jesus had a waiting period because they were sort of waiting to see if he was actually going to resurrect from the dead or not. You also have a waiting period. If Jesus was not exempt from a waiting period, you ain't either, okay? Get comfortable in the wait, and you can get comfortable in the wait. Why? Why can you be comfortable in the wait? Because God does what he says. When we get uncomfortable in the wait, we have lost faith that God will actually do what he says. Jesus was dead. He was comfortable in the weight. Like, he was not going anywhere. He was inside the tomb, okay? But he could be comfortable in the weight of death. Why? Because he knew that God was going to do what he said he was going to do. You can be 100% comfortable in the weight, knowing this: God does what he says. Remember day one? Remember day one when I said Jesus was the Word, he was the fulfillment of the Word, but he also depended on the Word. This is one of those times when Jesus was like, I'm going to die, and I'm depending on the Word of God because it tells me that I will be resurrected. He was the Word. That is so deep. If you sit and think about it, he was the Word. He was the fulfillment of the Word, but he also depended on the Word. Okay. So I'm going to go to Matthew 27 today, 27. Now, so Jesus, what we left off yesterday, Jesus had died on the cross, and we talked all about that. I told you my story a little bit. Then Jesus is buried. Now, Jesus is buried in a borrowed tomb, which is to fulfill the prophecies about him. Joseph of Arimathea let him borrow the tomb because he's not in it anymore. And so he was buried in a tomb, and you can even find pictures of the tomb if you just Google it on, or look in your internet browser, whatever one you use. It's not fancy. It's not whatever. Maybe it was fancy back then. But today it's just kind of like a hole in the rock is what you can see. I'm going to read this. I'm going to make a couple points to you guys today. Matthew 27 says this, 27:59, Matthew 27:59. This is my favorite account of the resurrection. I love it in Matthew. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb. It was brand new, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the entrance of the tomb and went away. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary, sitting opposite the grave. So Mary and the other Mary were sitting opposite the grave, and they were there. They saw him be buried. So they saw him be buried with their own two eyes, okay? They saw. Sometimes sight hinders our belief in God's word. Okay? Ooh, that's good. They saw him be buried. They knew intellectually he was going in that tomb, and that was it. And sometimes this is why we walk by faith and not by sight, because sometimes what we see hinders what we have heard from the Lord. And that happened to Mary and the other Mary. So they saw him be buried. They saw him, okay? Large stone against the entrance, and Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary sitting opposite the grave. So they were like maybe sitting, right across the way from the grave. Now, on the next day, the day after preparation, the chief priest, now this is very interesting, and this goes right along with the waiting period, and it goes right along with when God tells us something. The chief priest and the Pharisees gathered together with Pilate. Remember Pilate? Pilate, don't make decisions like Pilate. And said, listen to this. I want to challenge you a little bit. Is it possible the Pharisees and the Sadducees had more faith in Jesus' resurrection than the disciples? I actually think that might have been the case. And this is why. They gathered together, the chief priests and the Pharisees all gathered together, and they met with Pilate and said, Sir, we remember, listen to this. We remember, I just lost my place, that when he was still alive, that deceiver said, after 3 days, I am going to rise again. Therefore, did you hear that? Did you hear that? In Matthew 26, I'm just going to go ahead to it. In Matthew 26:32, Jesus told the disciples, this is like when he was alive, before he was crucified. He said this, then Jesus said to them, you will all fall away because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike down the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go ahead of you to Galilee. He told the disciples plainly the night that he went into Gethsemane, you're all going to forsake me. And after I am raised, I am going to meet up with you in Galilee. He said that with his own mouth to the disciples, and they all heard it. Now, not only did they hear it, the Pharisees heard it. The chief priest heard it. The enemy heard it as well. It's interesting that this is so good, you guys. It's interesting to me that the Pharisees and the chief priest prepared for his resurrection and the disciples did not. That will preach. In our lives, Satan believes more in God than you do. He knows he does what he says. He saw it. He saw the resurrection. He's the one that used the Pharisees and the chief priest as a tool to hopefully defeat Jesus. They believed more in the resurrection than the disciples who walked with Jesus did. And I have proof because they prepared for it. This is so good. Do not let the enemy have more faith in God than you do. Do not let the enemy believe more in God's power than you do. Do not let the enemy prepare for what God will do, and you just become depressed and discouraged and give up on him. The enemy believes more in Jesus than you ever will, and he proves it because he prepares for his word. Y'all, that is so good. If that does not shake you to the core, I really just don't know what will. I just don't know what will. The Pharisees prepared, the disciples accepted. How frustrating is it to me when someone's like, well, I've just given up on the Lord because I had to wait 1 year for my promise and it never came true. Really? Jesus had to be encased in a body for 33 years waiting for his moment. You can't wait 12 months. Come on. The chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together. Sir, we remember, I just told you in Matthew 26, Jesus was telling everyone, I'm going to rise again from the dead, y'all, in 3 days. This is not a word that he had given them 30 years ago. The prophets did, but he did not. He was telling them, I'm going to rise from the dead. Remember my words. Remember what I'm telling you. Well, the Pharisees did. And they went in with Pilate. We remember when the deceiver said, this is Matthew 26:63. When he was still alive, after 3 days, I'm going to rise again. Therefore, give orders, Pilate. Give orders, Pilate. Give orders for the grave to be made secure until the third day. Otherwise, his disciples may come and steal him away and say to the people, he has risen from the dead, and the last deception will be worse than the first. Pilate said to them, you have my permission. That's written out, ripped out of my Bible, but I'm ad-libbing there. Go and make it as secure as you know how. Oh, this passage is so good. And they went and they made the grave secure, and along with the guard, they set a seal on the stone. Listen to me now. They believed more in the resurrection than the old disciples did. did, because Mary and the other Mary were watching him being buried. So they thought, this is impossible. He's never going to come back from this. What about everything that he said to me? Well, the Pharisees were working while they were doubting. They were active while they were doubting. They were active while they were saying, I can't believe this is happening. Our lives are over. Even though he said he was going to rise again. I mean, I'm so heartbroken for this. The Pharisees believed when they did not. And what did they do? They went to the powers that be. They went to the authority that was set before them, which was Pontius Pilate. And what did Pilate say to them? Make it as secure as you know how. And they did. They set some stupid seal as if it would stop Jesus. This part is like, this is where the pride of the Pharisees and the chief priests comes in. They're like, we'll roll a stone, although the stone was already rolled. I know how we can make it secure, guys. I've got a great idea, guys. I've got a great idea. We'll set one soldier there, and then we'll put a seal that will secure it forever. Jesus predicted he was going to raise himself from the dead, and you put a measly little seal? How's that going to stop the Lord? Guys, they made it as secure as they knew how. As they knew how. I wonder what Jesus thought from heaven as he was like, guys, they got a seal. They got the rubber stamp. They did it all. They put the signet ring in there. There's a seal, guys. There's a seal. We need a little extra. We need a little extra manpower on the resurrection. There's a seal. It is so absurd to even think of. There's a seal. You think God was quaking when they put their little seal on top of the throne? No, he wasn't. He was lovingly saying, they have no idea. They have no idea. But it was as secure as they knew how. Let me tell you something, friend, sister, brother, dear one. The enemy only secures it as good as he knows how. Woo! That was a word for somebody. The enemy only secures it as good as he knows how. It always fails. Always. It always fails. It always fails. It always looks feeble. It always is powerless. It always will fall short when Jesus' power is unleashed. He only makes it as secure as he knows how. He doesn't have the mind of God. He has the mind of the enemy. He only does it as much as he knows how. But when Jesus steps up to the plate, every arrow, every weapon that is formed against you will fail. The seal made out of rubber, I don't even know what it was made out of. I'll do some research, I'll tell you. Failed. But they made it as secure as they know how. They believed the resurrection was going to happen and they prepared for it. The disciples accepted the death as final and they stopped believing. They made it as secure as they knew how because they don't know how to stop the power of God. They can't. They don't have that wisdom. It is infinite. Matthew 28, and then I'm almost done. Now I am so obsessed, you guys. Now, after the Sabbath, as it began to dawn, towards the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, they watched them bury him, came to look at the grave. You know how you go look after you after you lose someone, you'll go and you'll visit the grave. They're not there. They're not. But there's something comforting about that, right? So they go and they look at the grave. Listen, I am obsessed with this. And behold, a severe earthquake had occurred. For an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled away the stone and sat on top of it. And his appearance was like lightning and his clothing as white as snow. The guard that they made the tomb secure with, as much as they knew how, it just makes me laugh. The guard shook for fear of him and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know you are looking for Jesus who has been crucified. He isn't here. He has risen, just as he said. Come, see the place where he was laid, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he is going ahead of you into Galilee, where you will see him. Behold, I have told you." Okay, what did the angel say? Behold, he's risen. He's going ahead of you to Galilee. Matthew 26 says this. When Jesus talked to his disciples, "But after I have been raised, I will go ahead of you to Galilee." So the angel recited the exact same words that Jesus told the disciples right before he was taken into custody in Gethsemane. Behold, he's going ahead of you to Galilee. So go meet up with him, okay? Behold, after I have been raised, I will go ahead of you to Galilee. If that didn't convict those two women who heard what Jesus said, I just don't know what will. He has risen, just as he said. Behold, go tell the disciples he's going ahead of you to Galilee, just like he told you in Matthew 26. But go ahead. He didn't chastise them. I just am in my own mind. Last point, and then I'm done. Matthew accounts of a severe earthquake. None of the other gospels do, okay? Matthew accounts actually of two severe earthquakes, one when he died and then one when he was risen. I did study on this earthquake. It says right here, "And behold," Matthew 22:2, "a severe earthquake had occurred, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven, came and rolled away the stone and sat upon it." So first things first, a severe earthquake had occurred that, guess what, a seal could never overpower. It's just hilarious. The second thing is that a severe earthquake had occurred. And as I did study, this was not just like a little rumble that, you hear that happens in California. Texas, we don't really get earthquakes, but there are parts of the world that get severe earthquakes, or you'll feel a little rumble and the walls will shake or whatever. This is an earthquake that would have been categorized as a disaster. This is an earthquake that everyone would have felt. It would have been a disaster. Probably would have destroyed buildings. It would have destroyed houses. This is not just some small earthquake. And the last thing I want to tell you about this is not only did Jesus have to submit to the waiting period of 3 days dead to rise again, the earth had to submit to the waiting period of holding the Creator in for 3 days. Everyone was submitting in this situation. Creation was submitting to the Creator. Creation had to say, okay, we'll hold Jesus down for 3 days in the tomb. If you don't remember that verse, if we don't worship, the rocks will cry out. Jesus was buried inside of a rock. in the side of the wall. That's what a tomb was. The earth was literally quaking in submission, holding Jesus Christ, the Son of God, in until they got the okay from God the Father to release him. And when they released him, the earth could not stand to hold him. So there was a severe earthquake that took place because the creation cannot hold the creator without some sort of reaction. The earth had a waiting period too. And it had to submit to orders of hold Jesus in for 3 days. If we don't worship, the rocks will cry out. Those rocks had to submit to the order. And they did. And they did. And the earth quaked violently when he was resurrected. Y'all, Jesus is alive. I could cry. This was good today. This is a good word. Share it. Share it, share it, share it. Share it with your mamas, your sisters, your daughters, whatever. Share it, share it, share it. Jesus is alive. He is alive. I know it because I live by it. I'm desperate for it. I need it. Jesus is alive. He is active. He is risen, just as he said he was going to do. You can have hope because of that. So go into this weekend, this Palm Sunday weekend, go into it celebrating the fact that you know how this story ends. You know that Jesus is faithful. You know that God is faithful. Go into this weekend celebrating that. And remember, when God gives us a word, there is a waiting period until we see the fulfillment. It is written in your plan. It is written in your circumstance. It is written in your trial. It is written into your life. There is a waiting period between the word God gives and the fulfillment of it. It is a thing. Don't hate the wait. Don't be mad at God for the wait, because you know how it ends. Because if God said it, he does it. Love you guys. I'll see you next time. Woo, this was so good.